are you? And what is your main area of practice or discipline?
Trying not to be disciplined.
Fair enough.
We both are primarily play acoustic instruments, like acoustic guitar, but we're amplified, so I don't know if that still qualifies.
I'd say so.
So, multi-instruments.
Singer-songwriter, trying to if we're going to be classified.
All right, so what is unique about how you guys practice your passions? How have you implemented it into your lives in the ways that you have?
Well, I'd say very few couples get to do music together. You know, you might be a person involved with a singing group or a band or something, but it's very nice to be able to do what you love with the person you love, and for that to really be, a fabric of your day-to-day life, because it's your employment and it's your recreation, and a lot of the friends we've met through doing our work here, so.
There's no traditional complications about buying gear.
How did you guys come to practicing this art form?
We met through a recording project, and I was looking for a session player for Saying Hello, Feeling Goodbye was an album that I was working on. And Bruce was recommended as a person who would play guitar and work with me for that. And what we discovered was we had a real affinity for each other's company, and Bruce is very good with arranging songs and finding little signature riffs and things that added a lot of character to the song.
And Judy's an amazing word lady. She's a really talented writer.
Wow, that's a pretty perfect duo if I ever heard of one. That's awesome.
So Bruce is one of the few people that I had worked with that didn't try to sort of change my style. And so I found that really comfortable because I have sort of self-taught and have sort of this noisy, flailing sort of strumming style, which I just have not spent enough time practicing.
You're edgy.
Practicing to learn it a different way, like using a pick or trying different things. So I sort of have this way, and so Bruce just really found a way to complement that, and has also taught me a lot about different chords to use, and a lot of the songs that we have written started out as instrumentals that he composed, so not really a melody line, but a structure. So I either added a melody or added words sometimes, and so it's good.
This isn't necessarily true, but I joke about it sometimes. Sometimes I'll come across something that really feels good, seems to fit. There's no words to it yet, but if I play it excessively, finally she'll go, I'll put words to that if you just stop playing it over.
This music collaboration, would you say it's something that's like full-time? And if not, how much of your time is spent just putting time just toward the music that you make together?
I would say because of most of our performance time, if we want to call it that, is hosting open mics. We don't really have to practice a lengthy set or that kind of thing. Like we do have other performances that we would practice for, but it's mostly a template that's working. So
right.
Because we know there's a structure and our jams are sort of, they have the same format no matter where we have hosted them. So it's very comfortable for us to go fall into that same pattern again.
Judy runs a pretty tight ship. Because when we're out at a festival, and a lot of the people who play and stuff visit us here. We'll walk by the stage or somebody will be playing, they'll go, 3 more songs? They'll ask Judy, we can play 3 more songs.
It's ridiculous. I think that having some order to an open mic moves it along. It might not be as spontaneous sometimes, but then there's a lot of collaboration too, so I think people feel comfortable enough to engage and sort of do things differently if they want to. But
how did it come together in relation to the Roystown pub? And it sounds like there's quite a little community that really enjoys these nights and comes out pretty often.
When we first started playing together, it was hosted by Gio. He started the jam, and it had run for a couple of years before we started it. And at that time, it was the back street. And so Bruce was very good at, because he was already plugged into the local community, and I wasn't, I just moved to the valley again, so he knew of places to play and had ideas for where we'd go to sort of play our stuff out. And so it was his idea to come to the back street because there was an open mic there, and so we came pretty regularly. And then the host that was doing it stepped down and asked us if we wanted to fill in, and we thought, oh, we'll try that.
Tried for a couple of days. I really enjoy what we're doing it over a long period. Is you see people who come and they're just nervous, just so worried about performance anxiety, right? And they crash and they burn, and beads of perspiration. And you tell them it's not like you're an air traffic controller or first responder. If you make a mistake, it's good. It's all good. And you see them start to relax, and over a period of time, now you can't get them off the stage. It's like they blossomed, and opened up. They were just home playing in their bedroom. Probably not good enough.
Do you guys have other advice you would give to like performers or musicians just kind of wanting to get out there, starting out?
Take your love of music seriously, but don't take yourself seriously. It's more important for you to enjoy what you're doing. So, just relax.
The other will come. If you're enjoying yourself and you're being really true to yourself and expressing yourself.
And if you're going to an open mic and you're playing your heartfelt song and no one is listening to you, and they're more interested in chatting to the people that they've come to the pub with, don't let that throw you or make you feel like what you have doesn't have value. That it's a public place and it's not a ticketed event, people aren't paying to listen to you. People
learn to have a measured expectation of where you're playing. If it's a public house and you're trying to play some really sensitive piece of music that really means something to you, but that's good for you.
Yeah.
I call it a measured amount of indifference. It just happens in a pub. It's not a sit-down concert where people pay $35, $50 a ticket and they're all shushing each other. That's a whole different thing altogether. Yeah.
This is sort of the trenches. If you really want to get comfortable on the mic and you really want to get comfortable, just with your setup and all of that, coming to an open mic is good practice. We try to make it really easy for people because we lend our guitars so people can travel light. They don't have to, we don't want 20 cases lined up because there's 20 musicians. So people know that they can just come and they could be in the neighborhood and drop in, and we're always going to have something for them to play. So
there's the occasional evidence that we spoiled it.
Yeah.
Like, could you adjust my strap? Can you get me a tuner, please? I'd rather play that other guitar. I'd rather be on this mic.
Ooh, they
so
get
we
comfy.
facilitate that, right?
Sort of
and people get a little spoiled, right? That's good. That's good.
It's nice for people to have the best experience they can when they're up. So.
I tell them, we be your people.
So, what do you guys do when you're not creating? What other things kind of fill up your life and keep you going?
Gardening.
Cool.
Growing food.
Bruce is a very dedicated gardener when it comes to squash and feeding the neighbors and making sure we have enough zucchini to leave in people's cars when they're not looking.
It's kind of a humbling in-touch thing to be out on your knees out in the dirt doing.
Yeah, totally.
People have come from a long time ago.
Did you guys, either of you, have a sort of transformational experience, or maybe you'd say a thrust moment in your life where you just kind of realized you really wanted to put some serious time into music? And was there ever a moment where you kind of realized, oh, okay, this is my thing? And if not, could you tell us a little bit about how you got emotionally and mentally into the mindset to really put the time in?
When I was a young person, 10 years old or so, I had a teacher that was part of a program. I lived in Calgary then, and it was called the Calgary Safety Roundup Singers. And so it was sort of this weekly program. But he asked if I wanted to audition to join this group. So it was a weekly television program that featured young talent, and the reason why it's called Safety Roundup was because the school patrols from the school district would be featured for their safety and all of that stuff. So it was sort of this combination program. So at that time, I really enjoyed singing. I saw the joy that people got out of it. And I knew that people responded to music. I thought it's a communication form is what it is. My mom had a lot of, she was fond of country music, and so she picked out some of the songs of that vein, because that was sort of what the format of the show was.
Okay.
I didn't necessarily get to sing what I wanted to sing, but
They were singing.
They always responded favorably to her choices in most cases.
What about you, Bruce? Did you have sort of a moment?
Way back when we used to play the bars a lot, seen a lot of things that made me question supporting the alcohol industry. I've quit a couple times of playing those kind of venues because I had a hard time wrestling with, I'm here supporting them. It's like we've seen people, we were playing at this barbecue, this middle-aged, lovely couple, arm in arm, and they had some, was it Southern Comfort or something hanging out, each one of their back pockets full. And we're thinking, we'll see how this progresses. And by the end of the evening, they were just like yelling at each other and crying and stuff like that. And it makes you go, don't they care to be contributing to that?
Sometimes I think with all of the problems in the world and the climate crisis and all the things that we should be up in arms about, and I feel like weekly we're like, well, the party's happening and let's have a good time, and so I feel sort of,
it's a bit like we're sleeping.
It's like lulling everybody into not worrying, and and part of that's your job is to make this, and so I sort of struggle with that sometimes. There's not a lot of, it's like the musicians on the Titanic,
Absolutely.
Then again, to bring that back around to the friendly, music's pretty good medicine.
Yeah, it really is. What is the most joy that you've seen music kind of bring to people?
Sometimes we'll play the farmers markets, and there'll be little bales of hay out in front, and the little ones, I call them twirlers.
I was one of those.
And, I remember you.
You honestly probably do.
And they're just so sun's in my face, and I'm twirling, and I'm listening to the music, and the interesting contrast is sometimes you see people, grown-ups, walk past behind them, and they're just really burdened or heavy with some kind of life experience. And I often think, wow, what has happened between that and that?
And sometimes people will say, well, how long are you guys going to do that open mic? Because it's, you've been doing it so long. And then my feeling or answer to that is, as long as it's giving something back to us, which is not just an income, because that's part of it, but still the people that we meet, almost all of the friends that we have, we've met through the open mic. So it's quite unusual to have a network of friends that all have that in common. It would be really difficult if you didn't have music in your life to move to a new community and meet people. Single people who might not want to go to the bar because they don't want to feel like they're looking to be picked up, or but they're comfortable. They can come. It's entertainment. They can feel relaxed. They don't have to feel like they have to have a date to come. And then just to see how those friendships have evolved, and all the people that we know who have met through the jam and met each other through the jam, and I feel like that's just such a positive thing. And also when there's a collaboration happening, which is sometimes spontaneous, that we'll have a few people get up and play. So there might be maybe, a couple weeks ago we had 5 or 6 men sitting on stage, all playing songs they've never played before, and they're all listening to each other, and they're spelling each other off as far as playing solos and that kind of thing. And there's this magic that happens. They're listening, they're communicating, and that is really awesome to be a part of when that happens, but also just to watch that is something humans can do, which is so positive. It's really a neat thing.
It seems like if you keep your expectations really level, you can allow that to happen.
Right.
But if you're over, it's going to be so fantastic, it's easy to be disappointed.
Yeah. Do you guys have any influences or people you'd like to give a shout out to?
Well, I would give a shout out to all the musicians who come to the open mic at any time during the time that we have done this, because it really wouldn't be a success and it wouldn't happen if they didn't come. There's some that come regularly and drive some distance to come.
We have some people who are kind of we see them every 6 months, they're from back east. Or we have some people from the UK who have dropped in, and they go back to the UK and they come back a year or two go by and go, so we've been here that long enough to experience that.
And it feels good to be sort of an anchor that way, that people know that this is always happening, and they can always come, and it's familiar. It's gonna they'll probably see people that they've seen before. So it's just this opportunity for connection. Even if you don't talk to anybody that night, you still are seeing faces you've seen, and you get to be part of the vibe, whether you're a musician or you're not a musician. So
everyone extends a lot of grace to each other. Like, because they've all been up there. We're human. Everyone has had an off night, made a mistake, and everyone feels that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing.
And there's not many jobs where you can have a cold beer.
That's a big plus. Could you guys walk us through just what it would be like to show up for an open mic night if you were thinking of playing a song or just?
Well, we start at 5. We set up at about 4 o'clock. People usually start coming at about 4:30. The list fills up pretty quickly. We don't take reservations or anything for the list.
Politically, that's insane.
Because once you start doing that, then the people who have driven some distance to come will come, and the list is already full. So it doesn't seem fair to us to do that. So we always leave it as a first come, first play kind of thing. And so you can, if you get there, there's usually 10 or 12 musicians.
We used to do 19 at times.
We've had as many. We used to do a 4-hour jam here, and now it's 3 hours. So we don't have as much time to do that. But we encourage people, if they want to, say you come and you play the harmonica, but you don't really want your own spot, then we will introduce you or encourage you to talk to other people who are signed up and see if you can add something to what they're doing.
Oh, nice.
We don't guarantee that you'll play if that's not the case.
We encourage people to network.
Right.
And whoever's turn it is they're the orchestra leader. They can have who they wish or who they don't care to have.
We call it a jam, but it's really more of an open mic. So when it's your turn to have your 3-song stardom, then if you don't want percussion, you can say, I don't want percussion. Or you might be open to that and have somebody sit in. And sometimes it's difficult if people don't know your stuff and you're playing original songs and it's got some movements in it that they don't know are coming because it's not Brown Eyed Girl that everybody's heard.
Some of the winners who come get picked on.
Yeah.
Play with me, which is good.
So we're very graced by some really talented musicians. Michael Johnson comes, Anella comes,
Luke.
sometimes Luke Guthrie stops in, or we'll have Doug Biggs has been coming with the pedal steel lately.
Nice.
And the core has changed over time. We might have 5 or 6 musicians in the 6-month period that are always there, and then they stop coming and sort of another core starts. And there's some that have just always, sort of, they don't come every week, but they've always been attending. So we always seem to have enough musicians, no matter who it is.
Yeah.
So it's cool that it's like an organism.
Yeah.
But it's a breathing thing.
Is there anything else you guys would like to add?
Well, we'll thank Charlie and Judy. They own the pub here,
Yes.
and they inherited us as part of the business
Grandfathered.
transaction. They weren't really encouraged to continue that from the previous owner, so we're glad that they decided to do that, and they've had us here since they've owned the place, and they have really made it even more friendly and adding so much to the vibe that we were trying to create before. So they're great to work with, and we appreciate them.
Mhm.
And we also do a Wednesday night open mic at the High Tide, which is downtown,
Cool. Yeah.
Portland, which is the same format, just different people. And Dina Sickman is the owner there, and she does a great job of supporting live music in the valley. So we get different players in each place, and some overlap, but people are still writing songs, and so that's it's working.
It's working. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for allowing us to take a peek into your process, and we really appreciate your time and energy, and we're super happy to share your work with the community. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
yeah, thank you guys so much.